Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, it is no lie at all to say that the Wuthering Waves 2.7 situation is kind of crazy, considering the fact that the patch isn't out yet. We've got a video over here by Mr. Pharaohs talking about how the situation is exposing a lot of hypocrites. And one thing the gacha space really hates is hypocrites. And when it comes to WuWa 2.7, I've already made a couple of videos on the topic, right? You can just go ahead, take a look at some of my recent uploads. We got me getting canceled by my reaction to WuWa 2.7. Obviously, my thumbnail where I go ahead and I call it mid because there's not been a combat event in the game for 110 plus days. And of course, my reactions to the live stream as a whole, where I just basically say Kuro isn't really listening. At least in terms of the concerns that I and many others in the space are sharing right now. And I do think that Pharaohs over here, you can tell the dislike ratio isn't the worst thing ever, so, you know, naturally there are still going to be some disagreeers at this moment in time. I'm excited to see what the situation is entailing over here, because this is actually a tweet by Legions I've covered that I think really does send the wrong sort of message, and really embodies a lot of toxic positivity that I feel like isn't actually intended. So let's go ahead, let's break it all down, let's see what Pharaohs has to share, because I do think he's echoing the same sort of sentiment that I am, and, well, obviously I want to give support to those that have the right line of reasoning. Let's get right on into it.
All right, guys. The Wuthering Waves 2.7 situation is just, wow. Like, I knew this was going to happen because there are two sides in this situation. One side, you have people who are not happy the fact that in 2.7, you know, it's been 3 patches since we had meaningful content. And it's just getting out of control because this is a combat-oriented game. And WuWa, they're just not showcasing that at all.
Agreed. And this is actually one of the big things that I think has clearly started happening. And many could call it the HSRification of Wuthering Waves. Not necessarily from like a balance or like character kit or like power creep perspective, but from like an event perspective. HSR basically had a shift in 3.0 to like not have combat events anymore, and all they basically have are like weird fucking minigames with like birds and shit and like Candy Crush. And those are like the cornerstone events of the patch. And so when it comes to WuWa, right, you're seeing a similar sort of trend happening starting from after 2.4, which really actually sucks when you think about it, because, well, when I show you version 2.4 of this game, you're gonna be like, wait, this was actually some baller shit. You had shit like Banners Never Fall. You still had mini games with All Out towards the peak of Prestige. That was a great one. And then you also had Virtual Crisis as well. That endgame mode, right, where you didn't have a time limit. You could choose a bunch of different buffs and bump up the difficulty that way. You had 2 super fleshed out, really good feeling combat events, and you still had the minigames on top. So everyone basically got what they wanted from this patch. But the unfortunate part is we just haven't had anything similar to either this or this ever since. And with version 2.7, that will be 110 days without anything like Banners Never Fall, Virtual Crisis, or of course, the event that we always talk about, the co-op holograms. And still, there are going to be some people saying, oh, I don't view this as a problem at all. PGR is a combat game that barely has any combat events. Yep, and there's about 300 people that play PGR. I'm probably understating the number a little bit, but there's not a lot of people that play that game. I don't really know why we're using it as an example of, oh, this is a game that's doing it amazingly. It makes like $1 million a month. Let's just be real here. And it has 2 weekly resetting endgame modes. Honestly, it's got like 5 endgame modes active at once. They got like Norman, they got all that other shit. They got like Clash Trials, like Clash Reflection. They have like 4 running at once, so it's not even comparable from that degree. The HSRification of WuWa is something that has been happening over the past 3 updates, and it's, again, not the power creep, but the events turning giga goddamn casual.
Meanwhile, you have the other side where people are fine with this because as long as the story is good, that's all that matters. You know,
true.
Peak story equals peak update.
Unfortunately, that only works if you decide to only play the game for about 3 days of the 42-day patch. Because yes, your first couple of days will be amazing because all you'll be doing is the story and you'll have a great time. And then people, those type of individuals, they just put the game down for the next 40 days. But that just doesn't really work, right? If you're somebody that wants to log in every day, that wants to experience the content of the game every day.
Those are pretty much the two sides. And, you know, if you want this game to focus on combat, then go play another game, which is crazy to me. But
here we go. Another somebody spreading misinfo about PGR. Give me 1 second. Somebody over here saying that PGR had 1 million viewers on Bilibili, live viewers. I think we double checked that, and it was closer to 70K total views on the video instead of 1 million, as these guys, for some godforsaken reason, will lie about shit like the stream having 1 million concurrent viewers. It's been done before. I don't know why they do this.
This tweet got sent to me by one of my members in my Discord server, because I'm not really active on Twitter, but so we have a content over here called Legion's Gaming. Now, I have no beef with this guy at all, no beef with him. I just want to show this tweet as a way to prove a point and show you guys what I'm talking about when it comes to, you know, people who are not being, they're not being fair when it comes to players complaining about WUWA lacking content, right?
Agreed. I personally don't have beef with the CCs that I called out for making this take, but that's just how dangerous I view this take.
Let's go ahead and read this tweet here. So he says, there is deadass people that are angry about WUWA 2.7 having no combat events and saying the Vampire Survivors event will only be a few hours of gameplay. You guys do know that other games exist, right? Digimon Time Strangers will be out by then. We have a new, Atelier, I don't know how to say that. But we have a new game, the Trials in the Sky remake, the new Pokemon, Borderlands 4, Hollow Knight, Silk Song, other gachas to play as well. Y'all literally not play anything except WUWA. When I have nothing to do with WUWA, I log in, do my dailies for 5 minutes, and log out and play a different game. Hell, sometimes I don't even log in. People go play other games. So he's pretty much saying, hey man, if you're complaining about this game lacking content, if you're not happy with the fact that WUWA 2.7 is dry outside of the story, just go play another game.
On surface level, doesn't seem like the worst advice ever, right? And it's very practical advice. But what it does is a statement like this shuts down feedback. Oh, why even complain in the first place? Why are you talking so much about it? Just go play something else. And you naturally, if you have any history about Genshin Impact or really any Hoyoverse game, you know it's the same narrative that got spun when those games had unsatisfactory updates.
When I read this, I was like, yeah, I definitely disagree with this take. But there's a clip here that was like, this was like 8 months ago, 8 months ago. And the title is, this is the end of Honkai Star Rail. Now, the title's probably a typo here, but he's pretty much complaining about Honkai Star Rail's storytelling, because when it comes to HSR storytelling, it's pretty bad, right? It's really bad. That's one of the main issues I had with the game, why a lot of people left. We wanted a skip button. You had anti-skippers who didn't want a skip button because, ooh, the story is everything, which is crazy. But this is what he said when it comes to HSR, right? This is what he said. Let's go and play this.
So looks like Pharaoh's got some glue. And I hope it's not that bad. But the fact that he's bringing up HSR 3.0 kind of leads me to believe this is probably going to be bad. Because that was a bad time in Gacha. Start of the year with this shit.
That'd be crazy if we had an image to compare it to, huh? Loop, man. I'm gonna be rude because you guys keep saying that shit. The people that are saying that, you guys are fucking retarded.
It's this message up here, by the way.
Got this one chat over here saying, not trying to be rude here, but why play if you don't like it?
Which is basically the same exact advice that Legions gave in his tweet. And that was his reaction to seeing that in his Twitch chat.
Oh, obviously Legions is complaining about the storytelling. He's complaining about the game. And someone is telling him, hey man, if you don't like the game, then go play something else, right? That's what this person is saying. Let's see his response.
You're literally retarded. Why the fuck do you think that it's not acceptable for someone who loves a game to critique it so they can get better? This is why the game doesn't evolve or get better, is because people like you will say, well, then just don't play it if you don't like it.
That lemon has some zing.
Like it. You know what other games said? Don't play it if you don't like it? Hold on, I got you. Guess what? People didn't play it and it died. Don't be doing that. Don't play it if you don't like it bullshit. It's the most retarded ass comment I've fucking ever seen, man. This is why the game doesn't get better. You know how ZZ got better? People did stop playing it. And they did stop wasting money on it. And then then it evolved and they changed the game. They literally changed the entire game. Wuthering Waves, guess what? Oh, that community, Kuro Games, the devs, they actually listened to their community. They rewrote the entirety of the fucking story after the beta.
Damn, he just keeps going.
Meanwhile, a company that makes billions, mind you, billions, not millions, fucking billions, can't even put a fucking picture on the screen to describe what they're talking about in a game that's not even open world.
So he's talking about the story here. He's not really talking about events. He's talking about the story. But it's pretty clear here. Like, yeah, this is 8 months ago. But when you look at this tweet here, you guys can see the hypocrisy, right? It's like people are pretty much complaining that Wuwa, they're complaining about an issue in the game, right? They're complaining about something they're not happy with, and they want the devs to fix that.
Which is literally what he was doing in HSR, and there were people telling him to stop playing.
And your response to that is, well, go play another game. You guys do know that other games exist, right? And then when someone responded, they said, yeah, bro, I want no content on the game I like so I can play other things. He responded with, so since you're not one of the dumb ones, let me explain something to you, since you guys do not understand how these games work. This is a mobile gacha game that gets updates every 6 weeks. That does not mean you are supposed to have 6 weeks of content to play 8 hours a day. You want that, you go play an MMORPG. You people that bitch and moan about not having content do not understand this, and that is your problem. Like I said, go play other games while you're waiting for new content, or better yet, go outside. So it's like, using your argument here, I can say the same thing when it comes to story, right? Like
100%. It's just, I don't, this is kind of the unfortunate part that I feel like is happening over here. Because I like the patch, I'm going to defend it. That's basically what's going on here. Because I like the patch, I'm going to defend it. And so criticism, I don't really want it. Because I like what's in the patch and I like what was shown. Because I consume the game in this manner, where I play it for 2 days out of the 42 days of the year, and then the rest of it doesn't really bother me, because, well, I'll go ahead and I'll go play other games. Similarly, right, it's like an HSR, well, you could just not play the story if you don't like it, and just go play all the endgame modes and side stuff like that. People were telling him to do that, or telling Legions to do that, and he told them all the reasons for why that was a terrible thing to say or decide on. But then he, only 8 months later is doing the exact same thing for Wuwa.
If you're going to complain about the way Hoyo is handling story, I can tell you, hey, dude, go play a game that has better storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying, guys? Like, you guys see what I'm saying? Like, I can literally take this argument and I can flip it and I can use it for the story. If you don't like the way HSR is telling their story, Hoyo is, handling HSR storytelling, why don't you go play another game that has better storytelling? So it is disingenuous to sit here and, just completely shut down people for actually wanting something to do in the game. And this mindset that, a gacha game shouldn't have content, it just baffles me, because the reason why people play Wuwa, the reason why we compare Wuthering Waves to multiple games out there like Genshin Impact, etc., is because of the...
So do you love HSR because you do critique it? I thought HSR used to be a good game. Yeah, I critiqued it very heavily when I thought it still had a chance of becoming a good game after it degraded in quality across 2.x. And now there's just absolutely no chance of that happening, especially after you see the bullshit that is anomaly arbitration. What an absolute joke.
The combat, the gameplay is fluid, it's fast, it's not sluggish, right? So having more events, more combat events to showcase Wuwa's combat is going to make the game better.
I mean, that's the thing. You can just look back at the history of the game. 2.4 was one of the best patches in the history of the game for a reason, right? And many could say a good reason for that is the high quality of the events. Because guess what, guys? 2.4 was one of those updates where you had the main quest split across the halves of the version. And so you did the 2.4 main quest part 1 for like a good 3, 4, 5 hours. And then after that, you had a ton of fantastic events to keep your interest across the patch. Then the second half of the update came. You did that story. And then you had even more events to do. And so, for like a player of the game, 2.0 and 2.4 were some of the best updates ever. And that's because they had, well, great combat events. Not entirely because of those, because the story was also great. But they had them. And you want to know what actually elevated some of the worst performing versions in the game in terms of like content? Just look at stuff like 2.2, right? Where the story was super short. The story was only like 2-3 hours in this update. But you want to know what they had alongside it? Virtual Crisis, as well as a co-op combat event. The co-op hologram combat event and the first iteration of Virtual Crisis in the 2.2 update. That was awesome. That was great. Even with a story patch that was only 2 hours, the patch is considered one of the best in Wuwa history. Would it be as good if these combat events weren't in there? Probably not, because there would not have been anything to fucking do, just like how Wuwa 2.7 looks like there's nothing to fucking do.
And it all comes down to choice. If you don't want to play those events, those combat events, you don't have to. It's optional. Like, why are we trying to stop this game from improving?
And you want to know what the optionality of events actually means? You want to know what I did in version 2.1? I didn't actually like the fishing event. I thought it got boring after like an hour. I got bored of this after an hour. And so I just consumed it in the most casual way ever. Did it like in 30-minute bursts of time. Like it felt like a chore. It felt like I was doing a job for this one. Oh, the fish are over there. I don't care. Right? I didn't like this one. Some people did. But did I just go ahead and say this is the worst event in the history of the game? We should no longer have any of these. No, because I knew there were some people that liked it. Right? And yes, I suffered for a good portion of the patch because I didn't really like this event, but I wasn't going around yucking other people's yum, telling them, oh, just go play some other shit because we're not getting this fishing garbage again. It's just, I'm not super sure why there's even a mindset among individuals that people's preference of combat events in a combat-based game could be, like, wrong.
Why? Like, you said it yourself. If there is something wrong in the game, people should feel free to criticize the games that the game could be better. You showed Concord. Concord is dead as hell. You know what I'm saying? Concord is dead because devs don't care about the game, right?
Yep.
So players left the game.
Or they did care. They're just incapable devs.
If we don't want Wuthering Waves to have the same fate that these other games had when it comes to issues, then it's time for us to let the devs know how they can improve WUWA so that WUWA can be better.
And like I said, the HSRification of Wuthering Waves via the lack of combat events and only having casual minigames. Guess what people have given a shit ton of feedback to HSR for? Hey, we don't like these events. But guess what? They're easy to make because they just recycle the events across, like, they run an event in Genshin, and then they run, like, a reskinned version of it in Honkai Star Rail, and then they reskin it again, and
if
then
you like the game,
they reskin it again, and then run it in ZZZ. I swear to God, that's what they do. They just have, like, a rotating cycle of minigames that they just, like, reskin, and then they just split across the 3 games.
Issues, then it's time for us to let the devs know how they can improve WUWA so that WUWA can be better. If you like the game, then you would let people criticize the game. That's how things work.
Yep.
If you don't agree with, people saying that the game lacks content, you can feel free to disagree, but telling them to go play something else is not going to fix the issue, because if I go play another game that has more content, why should I come back to WUWA since there's no content in the game? Like, why should I come back? And that's how people think. Like, when they go play other games, that's what's going to make them not come back to WUWA, because they're going to be like, what's the point of me playing WUWA if I can go play a game that actually has content?
And this is also the other thing, is that if you're literally, I'm just gonna voice it this way. If you're one of those, like, story Andes, right, that only logs in for the story of the patch and then doesn't really engage with it too much outside of that, don't like, skip login days, skip dailies, all of that. I'm gonna be real, that gives me the vibe that you don't like the game that much. Probably because there's not that much content to do in it, and the story is the only thing that can be done for the whole 42 days. And literally, if you like the game more, you would be playing it more. That's kind of it. But if there's nothing to do in the game, there's going to be no reason to play it more. So it's just naturally, when you start getting that disengaged, and your play and like your play time or your loop for how you approach it is like you skip a day or two, you don't log in, you don't do all this stuff, you're just naturally not going to like the game as much because you're not playing it as much. That's just kind of how it is for anything. If you used to do something a lot and then you slowly stop doing it, you start liking it less. That's kind of it. That's how it works for almost everything in life.
It's the same thing with HSR when it comes to the story. Why should I play this game for the story when there are so many games out there that has better story?
That's why a lot of people don't play it anymore, because, well, the story's not good, and then nothing else in the game is good. After all the weird shit that they did to it over the past year. So people just don't play it, and they go play Expedition 33 and other shit like that instead. And a lot of people have just never come back.
So what it really comes down to in this entire situation is some people, they just don't understand that this game having more content just gives players a reason to log into the game and play it. When you go through the story, You look at version 2.5, all we had was the Frolova event, right? Not Frolova event, but Frolova story. Outside of Frolova story, what else was there to do?
2.5 is one of the most dead patches in the history of the game in the second half. Without a doubt, one of the most dead patches in the history of the game on the second half. It was so forgettable. Everything after Frolova's story. Completely forgettable.
We had this chibi event, this Phantasma Dreamland. Let's be real, guys. This event was terrible. It was boring. You're just sitting there clicking stuff, right? You have exploration event. You have.
I thought the event was like okay, but like I was really viewing it as the lens of like okay, like I've got literally nothing else to do, and then I didn't actually complete all the missions for it because like at some point I was like okay, like I'm kind of tired of this.
Have a picture like a puzzle event. Login event, and you're just sitting here taking pictures. Like 2.5 was horrible when it comes to events, but nobody said anything, and I didn't say anything because, you know, like
we thought it was a one-off patch, right? This was the balance that you had in 2.5. It just came off of 2.4. 2.4 had some of the best events ever in the history of the game. I can understand if 2.5 feels like it's a little bit lacking. Right? I can understand if 2.5 feels like it's not as feature-rich because we just came off of one of the best patches in the history of the game. But they'll bring it back in 2.6. Surely, right?
We just finished version 2.4, and 2.4 was absolute peak when it comes to content. You had Virtual Crisis, you had Bender's Everfall, we also had TCG as well. Like 2.4 was insane with content. And for all the people saying that, oh, you know, 2.7 is a story patch, so of course it's not going to be that much content when it comes to, you know, events or whatever, that's such a disingenuous take because version 2.4 was also a story patch, and they still gave us good combat events.
2.4 was a massive region expansion. I think a better comparison that he should have used was just straight up version 2.1. Look, you got Old Man and the Whale, which is basically the Vampire Survivors game mode, right? Take something that's not related at all to Wuwa's combats or mechanics, inspire yourself with a different game franchise, and then implement its gameplay as a Wuwa minigame, right? This was Dredge. The 2.7 event is Vampire Survivors. It is what it is, right? Guess what you had over here? 2 combat events in 2.1. And if you're going to say no story, come on. It's not a no story patch. You had Brant's story quest. You had the exploration quest in the mines where Phoebe almost gets blown up. You had story in the patch as well.
You look at version 2.6. What the hell was going on in this patch?
And the fishing minigame arguably had its own story as well.
Absolutely nothing. You had this flying event because we can fly in 1.x region. We had this tower defense mode, and let's be real, y'all. Me personally, I'm just not a fan of the tower defense thing because I'm just standing there watching my characters just like I'm literally just standing there just shooting enemies. That's it. I'm not really doing anything.
That's not a combat event.
We have this exploration event. We have this puzzle event. We have another login event where you're receiving buffs. We got this picture event. You're taking photos for OnlyFans. You got another picture event here. Like, there's literally nothing going on in 2.6. And the fact that we're entering 2.7 and it's the same thing again, where we just have this Vampire Survivor event. We have this photo event, login event, platform event. Like, come on, dude. Like, a lot of
110 days since the last combat event. The last combat event was in version 2.4. Cartithia was on banner. Lupa's rerun came before a combat event. Lupa reran from 2.4 before we had a combat event. The on-banner character from the last patch that had a combat event reran before another one. Another combat event. How crazy is that, guys? When you think about it that way, isn't that kind of insane?
people played this game for the combat. It is a combat-oriented game. This is an action RPG, an open-world action RPG. Telling people that they should go play something else because the game lacks content is not fixing the problem. It's just not fixing the problem at all because...
Especially when the problem has been brewing for this long. And this is also kind of like what makes this take, in my opinion, feel even more disingenuous. It discounts the fact that people have been feeling this way for 3 updates. And now, on the 3rd update in a row without combat events, now people are beginning to say this is going a little bit too far, and then we're just going with the whole blanket statement of go play other games. Honestly, a statement like this, it's not as bad, right, if you're saying it to somebody in version 2.5, right? If you're saying this to somebody in version 2.5 of the game, the first one without the combat event of the 3, I could understand it a lot more, right? It's not as bad. Say it on 2.6, still sort of acceptable. It is what it is, right? There was a lot of other content to do in 2.6, but now that we're in 2.7, where, let me just show you the events tab once again, ladies and gentlemen, you have 3 login events, a parkour event, a photo event, and then a minigame. That's it. There's 3 actual events outside of logins following 2 patches without combat events. And so this response over here of just shut up and go play other games is so much worse in that context that we've been patiently waiting. We have been playing other games for the last 80 fucking days.
Because when I go play another game, and let's say that game has issues, what are you going to say about that? Are you going to tell me to go play another game if that other game has issues? It's like the cycle repeats itself. One of the main reasons why players left Genshin Impact, including me, is because Genshin Impact lacked content. And what were Hoyoshio saying about that? Oh, go play another game, dude. This game is clearly not for you. Stop playing Genshin. The dev shouldn't cater to you. It's a story game. All these dumb excuses. And guess what?
Game is so bad, it's not playable anymore. Like, they heard that people played only for the combat, and so they made it so that you needed all the new characters to do any of the combat in the game. Well done, Hoyoverse. They cracked the code.
A lot of people left Genshin Impact and they decided to go play Wuthering Waves. You look at HSR, a lot of people left HSR because of how bad the storytelling is and the lack of content.
Yep, and the minigames.
ZZZ. I don't know what's going on with ZZZ, but I know ZZZ is not doing well right now.
I think ZZZ is getting mismanaged into hell. There's another ZZZ situation that we could probably cover. We could probably cover later. It involves Lucia. Apparently, they decided she didn't look enough like Yi Xuan. The bottom half looking exactly like her wasn't enough. They needed the top half as well.
It's literally a hamster wheel. We're just running in circles now. Whenever there's an issue with these games, playing another game is not going to fix it. And if you like the game, criticizing the game and giving the devs feedback will make the game better.
And this is criticism that's being given, again, after 110 days with no combat event. The timing over here is so generous on the critiquer's end. And another reason that I forgot to mention for why the take by Legions here is so disingenuous is it just shows that he hasn't been keeping up with the content in the game. Because he himself should recognize that it's been 110 days as well. And so it's just like, it just shows like how disengaged this take appears across the past 3 patches. Because like if you played, you would have seen how long it's been since one. It just seems really out of touch.
ZZZ. I don't know what's going on with ZZZ, but I know ZZZ is not doing well right now. It's like, it's literally a hamster wheel. We're just running in circles now. Whenever there's an issue with these games, playing another game is not going to fix it. And if you like the game, criticizing the game and giving the devs feedback will make the game better. Now, don't get me wrong.
Y'all are upset because there's no good combat event, even though the last one was dog shit. The last ones we had were Virtual Crisis and Banners Never Fall, which were both critically well acclaimed and received. So yeah, you're just spreading misinformation over here, my friend. Yeah, the last ones we had were pretty much widely recognized by the player base as good. Yep. I don't know any person that thought the last combat events we had were bad. I think everyone thought they were good. Wait, let me go see who made that take. All right, you're banned, buddy. See you later, dipshit. Get out of my chat. You're too dumb to be in my chat. There's another tweet from Legions. Oh, dearie me. Bet he only does the story and nothing else. Man, you look dumb AF right now. I guarantee you that I play the game more than you and support. Oh no. Oh, why does this sound like what Gen? Why is this? Did bro get mind controlled by Genizad? Is Genizad currently like channeling a level 7 dark spell? Maybe I gotta read the quote retweet. Maybe there's a reason why he's responding so aggressively. Bro is defending it with his life only because he is not playing it for the time being. Bet he only do the quest and leave for other games, and when people who really says something, he jumps to shit on them. When people who really play say something, he jumps to shit on them. Okay, he's having a bit of a war. He's kind of getting one guide over here. Let's read the whole thing. I guarantee you that I play the game more than you. I spend more money on the game. I play the game more. I'm not like some of those dirty free-to-plays who are just sitting there bitching and moaning. Difference is, I'm not a retard, and I know that there is no way this game can make more than 8 hours of content every 6 weeks, especially considering 3.0 is right around the corner. Yeah, but it's been 3 patches without combat events. And again, this would be understandable if you were responding to somebody in version 2.5, when that was the first patch with no combat events. But after 3 patches with no combat events, I don't know how we're saying it after patch number 3, which is, again, I feel like it's directly contradicting the statement that you played the game more, because if you did, you would understand why people are complaining about the lack of content, because it's been 3 patches in a row like this. And so it seems a little contradictory over here, especially considering 3.0 is right around the corner and they're busting their ass to bring new content, new characters, new settings, the Cyberpunk collab, new exploration mechanics. I think we can theorize that this is going on, but once again, it's been 3 patches with no combat events. So like, I don't really care if they're prepping the best patch in gacha history for 3.0. I'm currently going through a drought that's lasted 3 patches in preparation for it. When it should be super easy to rerun the co-op hologram event and just switch out the bosses. That doesn't seem like it would be that hard to do, to be honest. But all you people want to do is bitch about not being able to have 40 hours of content. Nah, that's a straw man. It's not about bitching for 40 hours of content. It's can we have one fucking combat event? Because it's been 110 days since the last one. This is not the complaint people are making. It's been 110 days since a combat event. They're asking for one. On a mobile gacha title every 6 weeks. Again, strawman. These games are not designed to be played that way. Okay, and again, this is I guess this is the unfortunate part. Is I'm not sure. Maybe this is more of a statement directed individually at the person, but it does the way that he's wording this is like he's making it seem like this is what people are asking for. They want 40 hours of content every single patch. In reality, it's no, they just want a combat event after a 3-month drought. Sorry, 4-month drought. These people would be better off playing MMOs, but we all know that the ones bitching can't even afford a monthly subscription for those games, let alone buy a 70. Oh man. I don't even know where to begin to unpack this one. Oh dearie me. I don't even know where to start with this one. Part of me just doesn't even want to get into it, because I think we all know how absolutely cooked this statement is. Oh dearie me. Oh dearie me. He's about to announce that he's going to Kurofest next year. I will enjoy the 8 hours of content, do all the story and exploration and events, which is probably going to take well over 10 hours if you include the story. Then I'll happily move on to one of my many other games that I have to play while I wait for them to cook up more content. The people complaining are not real fans of the game. Hey fellas, is complaining about not having a combat event in a combat-oriented game for over 100 days, does that make you a fake fan? Because I guess Legions does spend more money than me, so he must be right. Yeah, I'm totally not a day one player. I totally don't have every character in the game, and I totally don't have top 1% builds on every unit. Yeah, I must be a fake fan. Or they would understand all this, especially with 3.0 around the corner. The collab and Kuro has given us 4 straight patches with amazing content. Well, it's gonna be 3 straight patches with no combat events. So, yeah, well, I guess we'll agree to disagree here. And no filler for story in between any of them. Yes, there hasn't really been there's been good story, which is why he likes them and is calling them amazing content, but there's been no fucking combat events in a combat game. So that's why we're saying we don't like it. And he's saying, because I like it, anyone critiquing it is a fake fan. Or because I like it, I like the story, I like that there's been no filler. If you're critiquing it, you're not a real... I don't even know what's going on here, bro. This is such a bad response. It's crazy. It's so awful. I don't even know where we're at in this video. I'm just gonna be real here. Do I even need to finish it at this point after I seen that tweet? Probably not. We're already at like 40 minutes. Let's just say I'm pretty much have unilaterally agreed with every single thing Pharos has said in this video. And I do think that Legions right now genuinely has his head in his fucking asshole. I don't, like, I'm not particularly sure why he's reacting like this, or why he's getting one guy to this high of a degree, where he has to start, like, flexing his wallet, doing the fucking, like, orange justice on top of, like, free-to-play players. Like, I don't really know what's going on over here. I don't know why he's so mad that people are giving genuine critiques to the update. I just think he's got to take a chill pill and actually recognize that people can play the game for different reasons that he does, And when the reasons that they're playing a game don't feel like they're satisfied, then they're going to be unhappy with it and voice their critiques. And just because the content that he likes is in the updates, that doesn't mean that the update is a 10 out of 10 for every other player. But the way that he's making it seem like, he's literally saying, if you're critiquing the game, you're a fake fan. I don't even know what's going on here. I don't know what could have compelled the guy to make a statement like this, on top of the money shaming. I just think it's a bit off. W video by Pharos. I think he's just kind of like yapping here towards the end, but, you know, I think he did set like the right framing for everything. And I think that this is the right approach that the community in general should have. Yes, I can enjoy the story, and I can like that the story's in there, but I can also dislike when there's not anything else that I play the game for in the update. The fact that there's like this much resistance, this much like hypocrisy, this much of like just trying to shut down critiques because what you like is in the updates, I don't think that's very healthy for the space. That'll be that for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you all thought. Peace.